Good Sunday morning, everybody. It's David Schlotthauer here, back with another weather forecast. In this update, latest global computer models continue to indicate that a serious winter storm will develop across the Great Lakes and the Northeast by next weekend. But the most concerning aspect to this forecast will be the risk for some of the coldest Arctic air temperatures ever recorded in the month of January for many locations. So, to start off the forecast, here's a look at the very latest ECMWF model. This is the European model for medium-range weather forecasting. And what we're looking at here is the United States. I know it's hard to tell with these lots of lines, these pressure lines, as well as the state lines. But here is a look at the entire United States. And what we're looking at here is that winter storm that is moving across the Great Lakes region. This is not the biggest talk of the show as far as winter weather goes, because this is going to be moving on through pretty quickly. But what comes next will shock you to your knees. All right, let's fast forward through the model because the next several days are not going to look bad at all. Looking pretty quiet all the way through Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, even into Thursday. It's not until we get into, say, Friday and Saturday when the first system looks to develop. Now, I will show you two different model solutions here because there is a lot of moving pieces on what could actually end up happening. But we can see some showers, some thunderstorms do set up across the southeast by the time we go into Friday afternoon into the evening hours into even Saturday morning. All right, and then the cooler weather stays to the north. But this is going to be the game changer weather pattern here. This system that's developing over the southeast, that's going to bring rain and then moves out. And then what you don't see very well is the Arctic high that sets up over the high plains. This is a pretty substantial, dense, cold air anomaly over the high plains, settling in at 1,054 millibars. Into contrast, that is very high compared to, say, 1,011 millibars, which is the Earth's average air pressure. So given the fact that this high here is very strong, with very low upper level heights or thicknesses, this is going to lead to some of the coldest air on record potentially for the high plains, for the Rockies, and for the northern plains as well. But that's not where it ends. This high is going to cause potentially a serious winter storm. You can see how quick it develops here over Texas, moves very fast over the deep south. This is for Monday morning on Inauguration Day. Someone put that in the chat on the last video, that Donald Trump will become the official president of the United States on that day. So what is the weather going to look like on Inauguration Day? Well, it could look very snowy, and the reason why I use the words it could is because this is pretty far out in time. This is out to day 9 and 10 in the forecast, so we're looking literally a little more than a week out. Today's Sunday, folks. We're looking out all the way to Monday, the 20th of January. So this is pretty far out. So we have to use this with caution. But yeah, if this actually develops, which I do believe it's going to end up developing, there is going to be quite a bit of snow, freezing rain, and sleet very far south. In fact, probably along the Gulf Coast of the United States, which is pretty substantial, to say the least. So Inauguration Day could be pretty messy for a lot of people living in the south and the southeast, because that system really develops in a hurry with moderate to heavy snowfall by Monday night, and then it moves across the eastern seaboard and then potentially clipping New York City and Cape Cod by early Tuesday morning. But wow, much colder air in the wake of that, but it's only going to be reinforced by another shot of colder air here. In this high, 1,063 millibars. Very far out in the modeling, so there is very low confidence of this developing, but boy, oh boy, if this develops. Wait until you see the temperature anomalies and the wind chill values. They are insanely low for this area. Now, what does the GFS have to say in all of this as far as that winter storm goes for the very end of the work week here on Friday? Well, looks pretty good on Friday, although some snowy areas like Wyoming and Montana, but pretty good overall until we get into basically Friday afternoon. That's when things are going to change dramatically. The GFS pretty aggressive here at showing more significant rainfall developing over the Midwest, the Deep South, with the chances of some snow and mixed precipitation over northern Illinois as well as Iowa. Again, there is discrepancies here between the Euro and the GFS model, but there is something big coming, especially by Saturday, and this is going to continue all the way to Friday night into Saturday morning with moderate to heavy snowfall, combined with that with some rainfall in warmer areas. The only good news that I have to say about this winter storm will be I don't see any much in the way of freezing rain or sleet. It's going to be snow, then to rain, and then maybe back over to snow, just because of the way the temperature profile is. But don't be surprised if some of the valley locations do get some isolated amounts of ice, but doesn't look to amount to too much at all. But this is going to be a system that will definitely be talked about in future updates here, of course, on my YouTube channel, but other people out there on YouTube will definitely be talking about this or already talking about it. So that's why I'm going ahead of myself and talking about this too. But that's not the only system. There's going to be another one after this, potentially up across the Great Lakes, and then we will see what all happens after that, because with all this colder air in place, boy, if anything comes and clashes into this colder air, we could see a lot of snowfall, some sleet, some freezing rain, and some intense winds as well. Now, taking a look at those temperatures, this is the wind chill factor, because this is the more important aspect of temperatures, because once you get down into the single digits and lower, you really got to start paying attention to the wind chill factor very much. I know this is going to be a pretty exaggerated version, but this is truly important when you think about it, all right? Because yeah, it might be negative 20 outside, but then you're probably wondering, what's that wind chill value, right? Because the wind chill value really matters once you dig those temperatures into the negative territory. And boy, oh boy, wait until you see what the latter part of this week into the weekend brings, okay? In time for Inauguration Day and also Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So a lot going on by early next week as far as not really one holiday, but there's that Martin Luther King Jr., okay? So Monday, we have some really cold wind chill values here, anywhere between negative 11 to negative 30 degrees. That's not the worst of it at all. But yes, it might feel like the single digits down here in the Midwest. Even the eastern seaboard might feel in the single digits, as well as Indiana here might feel like negative 15 degrees for your Wednesday morning. So please bundle up, buttercups, when headed out the door for your morning commute. And that's going to persist all the way through Thursday before a minuscule warm-up does happen here. Now, it does say 40 degrees. Temperatures might be a little bit on the warmer side because this is, again, wind chill factor here. Probably some low to mid-40s here across Iowa. But wait until we get into the weekend. That's when the much colder temperatures come in. And look at this. For next weekend, on the 18th and the 19th of January, we have wind chill values already in the negative 10 to negative 30 degree range. In fact, some areas negative 40 degrees, and that's not it. This wind chill values go all the way down into Texas, pretty far south, even into northern Mexico at negative 5 degrees. If you are up here in Canada, though, where if you're in, if you're in Quebec and Ontario, you're going to have wind chill values that make it feel like negative 40 to possibly negative almost 60 degrees below zero. So that is pretty dangerous, and it doesn't end there. We're going to get another reinforcement of colder air potentially by the time we go into the 24th of January. Now, of course, this is really far out on the European model. I would not be trusting a whole lot into this right now. The ensembles are not very strong on it, but We've been showing this for a while, how January is going to be a very cold month for a lot of locations with extreme Arctic outbreaks potentially. And could this be one of those that we are waiting for? We will have to really keep an eye on future model runs from the Euro and from the GFS to see what it shows. But right now on the latest Euro, wind chill values as low as -60 to -70 degrees. That will certainly lead to a lot of fatalities because frostbite could happen as little as, say, 2 to 4 minutes on exposed skin because of how cold these temperatures are. And look at this. Look how far south this gets. Even into Mobile, Alabama, the wind chill value might be as low as 2 degrees if this actually comes to fruition. I'm not saying it will, but if it does, a big if, yeah, this is going to be making a lot of headlines. So with that being said, here's a look at your temperature anomaly forecast. And this is pretty important, all right, because it gives us an idea. Are these temperatures above average or are they below average? So the blue and purple colors show temperatures below average. The areas in the red, kind of the dark red, then the gray colors indicate temperatures above average. And you can see how this all evolves, right? That colder pocket moves through, and then by the weekend, we get another cold anomaly of temperatures here, with daytime highs and nighttime lows running as much as 30 to 45 degrees below the long-term average. So yes, this could be some historic Arctic air coming in for the weekend, but nothing about what you're about to see towards the end of this forecast. So that moves through the United States. Then there's a reinforcement of pocket of colder air. And this right here is the concern. This would bring temperatures down by about 50 degrees below average in some isolated areas. Look at that. Yeah, see, 50 degrees below normal in central Missouri. Wow, that would be serious. Even 55 degree below average temperatures in Kansas. Yeah, and even almost 60 degrees below average in central and eastern Kansas. So yeah, we are going to need to keep an eye on this because yes, areas like Texas, like Houston, Texas, Corpus Christi, Texas, could have temperatures as cold as 40 degrees below the seasonal average for this time of the year for late January. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, the reason why there is going to be a persistent amount of Arctic air coming out of Canada is because of what the upper level pattern is going to be configured into. All right. So in general, what you want for Arctic air to show up in the United States is you need an upper level low pressure system over the Great Lakes, over Hudson Bay, what we call, or what I would call it, the Hudson Bay upper level low pressure system. And then you get a lot of amplified ridging across the Pacific Northwest and also across the Intermountain West. And when you get this northwesterly flow that you're about to see here, this is going to bring in that cooler air. Not so much for Thursday because, well, there's going to be some remnants of cooler air, but less in the way of enhanced Arctic air because the flow is more out of the west-northwest. But watch this flow right here, how this is going to be a paradigm of a domino effect that sets up here. Watch this. Just keep an eye on this. Look at how this just amplifies all of a sudden by next weekend, by Martin Luther King Jr. weekend. Okay, these heights are way below average. You can just think of this. Northwesterly flow and northerly flow coming all the way from higher latitudes, from Yellowknife, Canada, from the Northern Territories up here in the Canadian Prairie. This is a configuration that really foretells some very cold, potentially record, if not historic, Arctic air temperatures coming in out of the north. And this continues. Look at this polar vortex doesn't really want to move out. It moves and it stays right over Hudson Bay. So as long as this pattern is in place, there is going to be a great deal of Arctic air that comes in out of Canada and moves into lower latitudes, with what we could be looking at or what we will be looking at by next weekend. As always, if you found this video really helpful, detailed, and informative, please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit the bell notification icon to get all of my updates here on the YouTube channel. Now, the reason why I'm uploading this video in the early morning hours is because I will be pretty busy for the rest of Sunday, so I will not have a Sunday night upload at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That has been canceled, and instead I have made this morning video. I will be back with you more on Monday with another update on what will be going on with this Arctic invasion combined with multiple snowstorms.